Welcome to HomeFront Sitrep. I hope you're in for a great show today because I'm just a veteran talking about what's on my mind and maybe yours.
You can find HomeFront Sitrep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. You can also check out HomeFront Sitrep's YouTube channel.
Buckle up, the show is starting.
Out on the edge of the battle and back, we've carried the weight and we've walked every track. From desert dust to the fire at home, we've learned how to fight, how to stand alone. But no one tells you what comes after the war, when silence is louder than the guns we bore. That's where we speak, that's where we heal, stories too real for Hollywood reels. Welcome to the front lines you don't always see, we're warriors to battle just differently. This is our check-in, our voice, our step. This is the HomeFront Sitrep podcast. For the fallen, the fighting, and those who came home. For the brothers and sisters who still feel alone. We're holding the line with truth and respect. This is the HomeFront Sitrep podcast. For the fallen, the fighting, and those who came home. For the brothers and sisters who still feel alone. We're holding the line with truth and respect. This is the HomeFront Sitrep podcast. It ain't all medals and waving flags. There's pain in the silence and weight in the bags. But we've got a mic and a mission to share, to tell the damn truth, cause somebody's gotta care. We laugh, we cry, we cuss, we pray. We honor the ones who ain't here today. From basic to battle and back to the block. This is our rhythm of round table talk. Welcome to the front lines you don't always see. We're warriors to battle just differently. This is our check-in, our voice, our step. This is the HomeFront Sitrep podcast. Still heavy in dreams out of reach, full of lessons the textbooks could never teach. We're sounding off, no filter, no prep. This is the HomeFront Sitrep podcast. So if you've worn the boots or love someone who did, if you swallowed your hurt and kept it all hid, pull up a chair, you're not alone. Welcome to the front lines you don't always see, where courage meets scars and raw honesty. This is our anthem, our truth intercept. This is the HomeFront Sitrep podcast. For the ones still standing and those we've lost yet, for every single story we'll never forget. We speak so others won't forget. This is the HomeFront Sitrep podcast. Real talk, real facts, real life. HomeFront Sitrep podcast, where the mission continues.
Welcome, everybody, to a Sunday edition of HomeFront Sitrep. How is everybody doing? Gunny, how are you, sir?
Good, man. Good to be back. It's been a little while. You know, I had some stuff with the team and getting ready to go back out the door again. Be gone for a couple weeks. Some personal stuff, not team stuff related. You know, it's one of those deals. It's that time of year, and I have an opportunity to go out to Jackson, Wyoming, to do some fly fishing for a week, and I am definitely not passing that up. So
I wouldn't either.
yeah, and then I'm back for I don't know what, 2 days, 3 days, and then we have Mogadishu Mile stuff. So it's the prep, getting ready for October 4th there in Georgetown at White Sulphur Baptist Church, and then I leave. I mean, depending on how long the event's running, I may have to leave early because I have a flight to catch to get to New Orleans to jump on the boat with Warrior on a cruise on the 5th. Then I'm back on the 12th, home for a couple days, and then it's right back to the grind with Team Fast Tracks as I head to West Texas for an air show. Come back from that air show, and then it's somewhere here in the East Coast for a couple of football games. So yeah, it's going to be a busy October for me. I think I'm home maybe 10 days, but at least a week of that it's just the wife and I, and of course our friends from Warriors on a Cruise, floating around the Caribbean.
Heck yeah, man. This week has been a pretty good week. The weekend has been pretty good as well. So Friday night we had football. my Chargers won. Bullet East Chargers won. It was a good game. Then yesterday, what did I do yesterday? Oh
You
yeah, we
had Lo had her homecoming or something
yeah,
with a
she had her
dance.
homecoming dance yesterday. And then we went to Barstown to celebrate my nephew's 7th birthday. We were down there until probably about 10 o'clock last night. And then this morning got up, went to church with the wife and kids, and our church community that we've fostered, all of our friends that started going to church with us showed up today. So we got to have, I think we had like almost 2 full rows of our people that we brought with us to church. And afterwards went to historic Bloomfield, Kentucky. Went to I think it's the second hometown pizza that was ever formed in Bloomfield, and it celebrate my mom's birthday today. So that was fun. And then I came back home, had a little bit of relaxing time watching some NFL, and then Top Gun was on. So Top Gun 1 was on, and then Top Gun 2 Maverick was on right afterwards. So it's actually Maverick's playing right now. I'm like, I got a podcast, but so I'm gonna come down here and do the podcast. But it is what it is. And then I think my Ravens play tonight on Sunday Night Football. So and there's my aunt right there, Miss Sherry Lyons. Want to give a big shout out to all of our people that are watching on TikTok right now. There's a bunch of people on TikTok, and then all of our people here watching live tonight. I know you're going to be busy the next couple months, and I'm just glad that we got you while we got you, and until you slow down again around December time frame.
Yeah, about a month and a half.
Your mic went quiet there for some reason. Yeah, next month and a half or so. How are you doing, Aunt Sherry? But we got a cool guest today. He's the founder of Helping Heroes USA, Tony DeMaio, and I'm hoping I didn't say that wrong. It might be DeMaio, maybe. I don't know. We'll ask Tony when he gets up here in just a few minutes. But dynamic community leader, veteran advocate, first responder, entrepreneur whose career has been defined by innovation, leadership, and service, brings his passion and tenacity to Helping Heroes USA, the nonprofit he founded to support veterans, active duty military personnel, and first responders through suicide prevention programs, community outreach events, and nationwide campaigns. Tony champions mental health and connections for those who serve, which is super cool because that's something that's very prevalent within the veteran community, first responder communities. And Gunny and I, we talk about it all the time, that we wished other people were more trained to see signs of just so we can help prevent. I'm gonna say unaliving because TikTok rules and stuff. We're on TikTok, so unaliving within the veteran and first responder communities. So I love that that's part of his mission, and I'm not even gonna get into what all he's done. I'm gonna let Tony explain all of that here in just a few minutes. But go follow Helping Heroes United on Facebook and all of their other social media platforms as well. But Gunny, is your mic working?
Can you hear me now?
Yep, you're back up and
Okay.
run.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Yeah, Micah. So Micah, being a student, got something sent to him from the college, and he bought Sunday ticket for like minimal, like 100 and something bucks. So we've had every game except for local, which is weird. If it's on your local station, you don't get it. But if you
Right.
buy Red Zone, it's an additional $10 through his student discount. So he's gonna do that so we can get to see everything. Because if your team is in the red zone or the team that's not being nationally televised is in the red zone, it'll pop up on the screen and show the highlights. But so we've been doing that all day today. Is watching
Nice.
the Sunday ticket.
Nice. Yeah, just want to give a big shout out to Okashi with Hope for 22 a day. She's watching on TikTok, so I'm gonna give her a big shout out. But I think we're ready to bring the guest up. What do you think, Gunny?
Yeah, I think you probably butchered his name, and I think we need to let him say it so we don't butcher it anymore.
Yeah, let's do
We'll
that.
just stick with Tony.
Let's bring Tony up here. Let's go. Let's put him. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. I want to first thank you guys for having me on, even though you butchered my name. No, you were close. It's pronounced DeMaio, but I'll take DeMaio. That's a lot better than a lot of things I've been called. So we're good.
Nice. Well, we want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know it's 4 o'clock your time, 7 o'clock our time. So I want to thank you for taking time out of your time and spending this next hour with us talking about you and also your nonprofit that you started. So if you don't mind, do me a favor and introduce yourself to the world of HomeFront Sitrep, if you don't mind.
Yeah. It's Tony DeMaio. I started working in this suicide prevention space back in like 2015. And I was consulting to an organization called Project Hero. And what we did is we did cycling events. We'd take 150, 200 veterans and we'd cycle different legs, like San Antonio, Texas to Houston, or Jacksonville, Florida, Atlanta. So about 1,000-mile, 700-mile runs over a week. And the whole part of that is the suicide spectrum or spiral that starts to happen is guys get isolated. They're out there deployed, they're in a structured environment, but then they come back and they're having a hard time on a lot of different fronts. And they start to get isolated, and that's sort of the first step. So what we coach on is to get people out of isolation, but it goes like this. It goes isolation, depression, drugs, alcohol, and then death by suicide. So my goal has always been is to capture people in those early stages of when you start to see them get isolated, start to withdraw, start to get depressed. And what I realized is that there's a lot of programs out there that are peer-to-peer, but the closest person to somebody may not be another vet, may not be another first responder. So what we've done is we've built a structure to be able to empower a community to look at who's at risk and how they can help. So we do symposiums, we do seminars, we do webinars. I've got a book coming out, and our whole thing is to train people and to really look at somebody and say, maybe they're at risk. And so what happens is when somebody's at risk, we show you how to start a dialogue and then how to refer people out. So it's sort of three phases. One is recognizing maybe that somebody's at risk. Two is then how do I enter in a conversation? And then three is I'm not the only person. I may have been the person that started, a conversation, found out, well, this person's really thinking about going down a dark path. And how do I enroll help? So that's our process. And we get into the details on each phase, but what we really want to do is create what we call support angels, which are people that just care about people. And my book coming out is written for the families and friends. It's not actually, if somebody is thinking about suicide, there's things in here that's going to help them, but it's also written towards creating a support group of people in a community. One of the shocking things is that, there's a suicide every 11 minutes. And from that death, there's about 135 people affected. And it's co-workers, it's family, it's friends, it's maybe guys they serve with, but it's a tough battle. What we want to do is we want to eliminate, which I come across so many people that just say, I wish I would have known. I just wish I would have known and I could have done something. I don't know what to do. So we want to eradicate that. We want to get rid of the, I wish I would have known, because people carry that guilt for years. You run into somebody 30 years ago, they had their best buddy pass away and they're still carrying the guilt like, I wish I would have known. And that wears on them and they become depressed. So, things that we talk about what are some of the signs that you start to see. One is that you'll see somebody maybe is giving away all their possessions. So they're thinking about, I've got all this stuff and I'm going to start giving it to folks. Another is they start to take and get their financial affairs in order. Maybe they never did that before, and all of a sudden they're thinking about a will and some other things. So those are some of the signs that happen. We also have a death of a loved one. That'll wear on people. Especially, you get into older older folks that have been married maybe 30, 40 years, and all of a sudden their best friend passes on, and it's tough for them. They get isolated real quick. A lot of times in the relationship, it's the woman who is the social contact, and guys are not. And so once that wife passes away, they're just lost. They're isolated. So isolation breeds depression. And we're trying to help people understand what to do, how to do it, how to identify it. So that's what we're all about. We're kind of like a how-to. I always tell people, you always have good advice. People always give you good advice. Like don't worry, get more sleep, lose weight. But when I really listen to somebody is when they follow up good advice with a how-to.
Yeah.
So if somebody says to me, lose weight, okay, and here's how to do it. But don't worry, here's how to do it. So we're all about the how-tos. So we're giving you good advice. We're giving you advice to have your radar up, to be looking, understand that there's people crossing your radar every day that are thinking about or going down a path. And what's the how-to? So we talk about some of the things we talk about, not only identifying, but how to engage into a conversation. And without getting too deep into it, I can tell you the best thing about starting the conversation is not to be judgmental, not to be, it's to be kind of caring about it. And you might say, I'm just checking how you doing, and I just wonder about you, and maybe you seem a little down or something like that. I'm not in judgment, like what's going on with you? It's you're not the same. So that's one thing. The other thing about a lot of times there's a stigma out there, and people say, well, I don't want to talk to somebody about suicide because it's going to get them thinking about it. I'll guarantee you, just if somebody's not thinking about it and you happen to say suicide, they're not going to say, hey, I'm going to go down that path.
Right.
So that's a barrier that we we'll tell people, look at, don't be afraid to approach it. Now, one of the things I bring up is that I'm not a veteran. And the reason why I bring that up is that when I started consulting and I started going on these cycling events, bike rides, and I was kind of apprehensive of how guys were going to accept me because I wasn't a veteran. And what I found is that they were really happy that just somebody was out there that was caring about them, and they'd want to share their story. So I think the number one thing, if you have somebody, and is to become a listener, because over the years, what I found was that listening, and the more people can tell their story, and they know somebody cares and they're compassionate about it, that's part of the healing process. It really is. It's just listening. And I'm sure over the years you guys have heard, and I've heard some horrible, horrific things, first responders and vets. And but for them, the healing is to be able to get it out, to be able to tell it. And so when we work with folks, we have a symposium coming up on this Thursday. One of the organizations, the Association of Builders and Contractors, has hired us to go out to their locations, to their corporate offices, and do symposiums. And the construction industry has a high rate of suicide. But there's also a lot of veterans in the construction industry.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a double whammy there. So, and what our mission is there is just family and friends and co-workers to, let them see what the signs are, and to be able to take and empower them. So that's at a 40,000 foot level. That's kind of what we do. We can drill down on some of the things that we do. We've talked about the drivers, and a lot of times it's a compounding thing. I'm in Palm Springs. I'm in Palm Desert, California, and there's 29 Palms Marine Base here.
Yep, we know it well.
Been there a number of times.
So we get a lot of guys that just come back from being deployed, and one of the things I found, there's this compounding thing that happens. So we may have somebody that comes back and they've got PTSD, or they come back and they can't fit back in, and they start creating problems at home, and they end up in divorce. But then they end up in child custody battle. Then they end up having financial problems, and they end up trying to get their rating with the VA. And so it starts to compound on them. And those are guys you got to stay close to, because it just continues to put pressure on it. So they might say things like, I don't see any way out. That's a bad thing. It's hopeless. I'm overwhelmed. Those are some of the words you need to kind of perk your radar up and say, wait a minute, this person's going down a path. I need to support them. And supporting somebody with that can look like is saying, like, let's do lunch, let's get a cup of coffee. You know, it doesn't have to be a big thing. Now, what we've done is we've done a variety of things. We do, cycling events. We still get guys to cycle because we want to get them out of isolation. But there's also, we've done golf clinics. We just bring guys out that never golfed before maybe, and we get them out on a driving range and putting green and get some of the pros from the golf course out there. And what we're hoping to do is create some bonding with somebody there that they'll find that they can start to get a relationship with. I'm really active in the American Legion, and it's 12,000 American Legion posts around the country. And I always tell people, look, if you think you've got somebody and you're afraid to approach them because you're not a veteran, there's somebody at one of those 12,000 posts that's going to step up, and they're going to help you out. Same thing with first responders. There's fire departments and police departments, and guys are always willing to step up and help a brother. So those are things that we encourage that maybe somebody hadn't thought about. They might be afraid to contact somebody, but then say, wait a minute. We also work with, how do you work with somebody that's like across the country or 5 states away? I get this a lot of times. It's a woman that works at the pro shop. I happen to live on a golf course, and she was telling me, look, I've got a friend of mine that's up in Oregon, and his wife passed away about 6 months ago. He's really not doing well. What can I do? So number one, start setting up some normal phone times. I'm going to call you Tuesday. I'm going to call you Wednesday. And then try to plug them into someplace local. Get them involved in a church, especially if somebody's lost a loved one. Almost every church in America has a bereavement group.
Yep.
And we encourage people to, number one is to see if you can get them enrolled in a church, take them to a church. Number two is to help them find a bereavement group. And that'll help with the healing process, and that'll get them out of that isolation. So this is kind of a common sense thing, but people just aren't aware, like, this is how I can help. So we're just kind of opening up the doors and putting it on the radar. And we talk about depression. Depression is a problematic thing. And one of the things we're working with people that are depressed is just to get them to set some goals. Something they can accomplish, just something really easy, but just something to look forward to. Get them out of that. The other thing is to hook them up with somebody, but is to make it so that they've got something that's a belief system. We're big on faith. We're a Christian organization. And we encourage people to look at their faith and look at what some of God's promises are. It might be dark right now, but God's got a promise for you on the outcome. He's got his hand on your life, and he wants you to succeed. You just need to get in alignment with what his values are. So we talk about that a lot and helping people get plugged into faith. And I think that's a real important part of what we do. And
Nice.
I don't know, I'm talking a lot. I don't know if you guys have questions or.
No, yeah. Well, let's. So everything that you've said so far, it kind of resonates kind of what Gunny and I talk about, because a lot of times when people go down that rabbit hole, and all they need is somebody to listen to them. They don't need necessarily to be fixed. They just need somebody to lend an ear, like you said, make phone calls, set up regular phone calls, scheduled phone calls with your battle buddies or whoever it might be. That's something that we preach a lot here on the show, is be someone's stranger. And you could be out and about and see somebody and it looks like they're having a bad day. You go up to them and you say, hey, how you doing? And they're like, oh, I'm okay. I'm hanging in there. I'm living a dream, which are red flags. You have to ask that next hard question. How are you really doing? But you have to be ready for that conversation. It could be a 5-minute conversation. It could be an 8-hour conversation. You just have to be ready for that conversation. And don't try to fix the person that's talking to you. Just sit there and listen. And sometimes that's all they need. And then, you're talking about, you started out doing these bike runs, whether it's from San Antonio to Houston or Jacksonville to wherever, and you're doing these bike runs, and you didn't know how people were going to take you as being a non-veteran, how you would fit into that mode of with veterans. Some of the best people out there are patriots like yourself, because a lot of times us veterans, we say we're not judgmental, but we are judgmental when it comes to certain things. you being a civilian on
especially
out,
between the branches.
yeah, especially
Yeah.
between the branches, yeah. But you being a civilian on the outside, you're lending an ear to us as veterans. You're a stranger to us. You don't have a dog in the fight, but we will open up to you because we know that you care about us. That's why you're doing what you do.
Well,
So
the other
I
thing that
applaud you
happens
for that.
when a lot of times what I've seen as veteran to veteran, first responder is not a conscious thing, but somebody starts to share, and you go, "Oh yeah, well we know what I've seen." It's almost like a one up. You don't really
Yeah.
mean it, but so I don't have a one up, you know. So I just listen. And the reason why I always bring that up every podcast I do and in the book is to say to folks that are out there, don't be afraid to approach somebody that's a first responder, a vet, because you're not, because you're almost better off. It's almost like an advantage because you're going to listen. You know,
Yeah.
to go back on a point you made before about one of the things I realized, my dad lived to be 90. My mom died when she was 75. My dad was alone for a lot of years. And one day it just dawned on me, I'd go over and visit him, and I might be the only guy he talked to for 4 or 5 days or a week. And he had a routine, which I realized what he did is every Wednesday he lived in Burbank, and his car never went out of Burbank, and the car wash was probably 3 miles away from his house. Every Wednesday he'd take his car to get washed and put it back in the garage. But that was like he'd go down there and he knew the guys, you know, and then he would go to the bank, and whenever his pension checks would come in, and he'd go to the bank. And my sisters wanted him to get direct deposit because they thought it was safer, but for him that was an event. That was a way to go. So part of that
It's
message,
that personal interaction with somebody.
yeah. So if you have somebody, and if it doesn't make sense to you what they're doing, but they're doing it for another reason, that might be the only person to see. Now I live in a 55 plus community. You know, I just made it by a year. No, I'm just kidding. But and so I have a service dog. I walk them every morning, hour and a half. I'm out there walking them. You know what? And that put me in a position where I'll have these folks come up and start talking to me. And instead of going like, "We're not going to go," like, "Why are you talking to me?" I'm realizing that I might be the only person they talk to that day. So I think that's an important message as you're out there. You have your radar up, and you just wonder, okay, this person's talking and they're sharing things, and they're not really relevant to anything, but they just need to have some human contact, you know. And so those are points, and you know, we expound on all of these things. You know, our symposiums are 3 hours long. We get into discussions about this, and we're really trying to show people how, just with a little bit of exposure, how they can save a life, how they can be a point person to help people. Now, when dealing with people with drugs and alcohol, we really try to get them to get some professional help right away, because that's just something that it's just hard to be equipped to deal with that. You know, that's just the wrong thing. So in that scenario, we're really looking for referrals. They're easy to find. There's people out there. So if you care and you've got somebody, you see them going down that drug and alcohol, don't try to be the one, so to speak. Don't take on that burden, because you're just setting yourself up for heartbreak. There's people that know how to deal with that on a professional level. And so that's one of the things we encourage. But we really want to look at, you know, if somebody's got financial problems and you think that's driving them, you know, that's a big driver for a lot of folks. The other thing, especially working with vets, is that, you know, firearms is the number one way that people commit suicide, the way they take their life. If you got a buddy that's got a firearm, if you can get that firearm and you get it locked up and get it put someplace, you know, while they're in this dark place, they're going down the rabbit hole, that's a big advantage, because a lot of times it's just they're one off, and then they can grab that, and that's a quick way out. So we encourage that. We talk about some different methods. You start seeing somebody that's maybe stockpiling prescription drugs, they might be thinking about suicide, and that might be the way they're going. That's another way that people take their life. So all of these things are just really creating awareness. And our belief is that the more people we out there looking after folks, it's the way we're going to help mitigate this situation.
Yeah.
So we give out statistics. We're not big on making them too confusing, but there are industries that are more susceptible, people that are We have the veteran number of 22 a day, which we really believe it's a lot higher than that, but they just don't all get reported. First responders, we actually believe it's as big as or maybe bigger, but the unions don't track it. So we have a number because the VA tracks the death certificates, but typically in that fire union, police unions, they don't really track them that much. So we don't have a good solid number on that. Most of the numbers we get that we use are from the CDC, Center for Disease Control. They've got a lot of extensive research on it. One of the things we've seen is increase in youth, and they believe that's because of bullying. There's cyberbullying became a term we didn't have before, and there's bullying in school. And if you're close to that, if you've got a kid or a friend that's got a kid that's got a problem with that you need to have your radar up on that. You need to get involved in that because that is something that's happening. The other thing is in the senior world, we have not only folks that are lonely and get depressed, but also we have chronic pain.
Yeah.
And the pain just doesn't go away. And we have the same thing for a lot of ages. There's also been an increase. Unfortunately, the space has been dominated by male, except for the last 2 years, there's been a 4% increase of female death by suicide. So, that brings me up to think, well, one of the signs is personal hygiene. Somebody's letting themselves go, they're getting isolated, and there's just no personal hygiene at all. Either they're putting on a ton of weight, or they're just not cleaning themselves, or cutting their hair, or whatever it is, and that's a sign. That's a red flag.
Yeah.
And, so those are things we talk about in coach.
So my daughter is a senior. My youngest is a senior now. But you brought up a good point. Back in fifth grade, when she was in fifth grade, she had a plan to commit suicide. She had 2 ways that she was going to do it. And Mom and I, we were completely oblivious to what was going on, because to us, she looked normal on the outside. She still acted the same way until the one day she didn't. And she came to Mom and Dad and said, "Hey, this is what's going on." And of course, we freaked out because we didn't see the signs of what was going on. And, and she's like, "Well, I have a plan." And of course, that preempted the 72-hour hold at the hospital, where Mom and Dad stayed there the whole time. And, the countless therapy visits afterwards. But it was all because of the bullying that was going on in her school. And, of course, my daughter came out when she was in 5th grade. And that's what kind of preempted a lot of the bullying. And the thing was, it was some of her closer friends that were doing the bullying. It wasn't some random kid in her school. It was her closest friends. And it's just like, huh, and it's something that we didn't notice. So I highly recommend, if you are a parent out there and you do have younger children, be more be more aware of the bullying in the school. If you hear your kid come up to you and say, "Hey, Mom, Dad, there's this kid at school, they're bullying such and such," just talk to your kids about it and see how they feel and how they're dealing with it, because it could be one of their best friends getting bullied by this person, and they feel the after effects of that, and they could be feeling a certain way. So definitely check in on your littles. I know we talk about that, and Gunny and I've talked about that quite a few times. Check on your little ones out there. So definitely love that, that's something that you guys talk about as well as part of your mission. So you guys, with Helping Heroes USA, do you guys travel the country and do classes for like major corporations and stuff like that, or is that under an umbrella of somebody else, or how does that go?
So for years we've been doing our symposium for American Legions and VFWs, just on a small basis. And this year we decided to take and build that up. So now we're starting to travel. We're starting to do them. There's really 2 ways you do them. You do them a public one, Like we've got one coming up at the Palm Springs Air Museum. It's a good venue to do that. You can draw folks, and they get to, they have to look at the venue the entire day too. So it's like those are great venues. We like to use those. Then we've been hired by the association here, Association of Builders and Contractors, and they have, just in California alone, they have 4 corporate offices. So we'll start that track. And then we'll start going out to corporations. We'll start moving around the country. But that's one of the reasons why we're getting ready to launch the webinars, is so we can reach more folks. Now, all of our symposiums, our seminars, they're all free. So we have some great sponsors, and of course, we're always running in and contacting new sponsors. But I never wanted somebody to not be able to come to one of our events because of a financial barrier, because they might be in that last phase of really thinking about it. We kind of talk about, like we use a stoplight kind of a scenario, it's a green light. Maybe somebody's just in a stage that they talked about it a little bit. There's been some hints. Then they start to get a little bit more. They start researching maybe some different ways to do it, or they start stockpiling drugs or something. And that's kind of a caution thing. And then there's somebody that says something like, one time after a cycling event on Saturday, we'd ridden, 60 miles, 70 miles, and we're loading our bikes in the car. And one of the guys goes, "Hey, how about if I take you guys to lunch?" It was about 40 guys standing around. And everybody said, "Well, and he says, well, it might be the last time we get together." So like 5 of us jumped on it right away. Let's go to lunch with him and find out what's going on. And those are things that happen. Now that's like in the last stage, when somebody's like, we may not see you guys again.
Yeah.
You need to get help right away. You need to get with them and stay with them. And, if that gun's around, take that gun. So, there's kind of getting your radar up, and there's kind of a sensitivity to where they are. But like you said, your daughter, for example, she was thinking about it, maybe researched it online a little bit, some different ways to do it. That's right at a spot where you need to get after that.
Yeah.
And there's a sense of urgency there. Creating a community, creating a group of people that graduate from where we are, helping them talk to other folks, and tell them there's some signs, or being where they're in a position where somebody comes to them, they can help that person that comes to them. May have a family member, husband, wife, whatever it is. So that's how we're getting the word out. And this is what I really appreciate, you taking your time here on the Sunday evening to have me on here so we can move our message forward, because that's what we want to do. We just want to get the message out. It's an important message. And I think it's a message that's had a lot of stigma to it over the years. And I think it's a message that more and more, though, people are saying, I need to look at that. Yeah. I kind of liken it to, a lot of folks that we have coming to our symposiums or plugging in with us. They're kind of like somebody takes a CPR class because they want to help somebody if that ever happens, if they need to do it. So we're sort of a mental CPR class. We're giving them the tools that if it happens, if somebody comes across your radar, then you know what to do.
Yeah. So now, do you guys, let's say somebody like Gunny or myself, we decide to go through your classes. Do you guys give like certifications out? So like, let's say if Gunny and I want to go teach your program to VFWs and American Legions and schools here locally, we could say, well, we're certified through, an organization or something of that nature.
Yeah, we do. We create what we call support angels. These are people that are out there. They want to support people. What you have to be careful about is that we don't want to say like you're certified and then you think you're a professional and you've got somebody that needs help. Our thing is to really be a touch point, to be able to engage in that conversation, and then if you see it going dark, to get help. That person might not pick up the phone and call 988, the suicide hotline, if you're punched one, if you're a veteran, but my gosh, you can do that. You can say, I'm going to get some help. And they might be comforted that where they just want to, or they're embarrassed to do that. There's a thing about, if you thought about it, then you're weak, suck it up and, get over it.
Yeah.
That's not it. That's not going to cure it. We've got years now of this thing, it's either flatlined or gone up a little bit. So there's no solutions that have been out there to mitigate suicide. But yet we believe that by just empowering people, if you help somebody, you find somebody that's in that zone, I can tell you one thing. We had a guy that had been recently deployed, and he was going down a rabbit hole. He had all the things going on for him. He had the divorce, he had the child custody battle, and he had problems with the VA. And the day that he was going to get the news on his child custody battle, what we did is, me and my business partner, another business, we just said, hey, come on with us. We're going down to Orange County for a meeting. Come on and ride with us. Because he was just hanging out at the house waiting. So we were just with him that day. And just had him hang with us. We just hung out and went to lunch. And something like that is what can save a life.
Yeah.
And then the follow-up to that. And, you just got to be able to move. We've had some where all of a sudden they found themselves homeless. Like they got locked out. It's the last day and they're out. That person needs to get into a shelter. You need to help them get in a shelter. We have vouchers that when you get them into a hotel for a night to get them straightened out, and those are the kind of events that happen. The compounding events that guys bring the scars back are events that something happens, an atrocity that happens to them when they're at war, when they're deployed, and they relive it. They can't break the cycle of reliving it all the time. It's like every night they go to bed and they rethink that. And that's the ones that really need to talk it out. Really need to stay close to them. You need to listen. Just don't try to fix it. You're not going to fix it. But that's one that I found just working with vets over the years is that it's like the day that they're a little down and then they realize that this thing happened and they didn't want to happen. Sometimes things have happened and it's gone against their moral conscience, what they've been asked to do. And that's a thing that'll wear on them also. And again, it's the listening and you maybe getting professional help for them. Just letting people know that they're not alone, is a huge thing. It's huge. Don't let them slip into phrases like, the world will be better off without me. And then you try to talk them out of that. It's a better thing if you say the world will be better off without me and say, well, why do you think that? It's almost like being an interviewer, my background, I have a company. We've produced over 20,000 podcasts. I've interviewed over 3,000 people on podcasts, and learning how to ask questions and how to frame those questions is a really important thing. And that's one of the things we work on is how to ask the questions. Don't solve it. Don't judge it. Just ask the question. Somebody says, the world would be better off without me. And says, why do you think that? Because they know in their mind, there's a reason they're thinking that.
Yeah.
If you try to tell them, no, it won't, people love you. They don't hear that. They really don't hear that.
Well,
So
you got to ask that open-ended question, right? You can't just ask that closed-ended that is a yes or a no or a maybe. You have to ask the question that's going to elicit a response from somebody.
Exactly, because they know what's driving them, and it might be financial. It might be, I don't see any way out. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm going to lose everything. What's making you think that? Is there some way I can help? It's not let me do this for you, but how can I support you? So, again, guys, I appreciate you having me on. I think this is an important message for a lot of folks. I think the information that we put out is good information. There's a statistics out that says that if somebody is seriously considering taking their life, and somebody gets involved, whether it's a family member, 85% of that time the outcome is positive.
Yeah.
Okay. So, it's you get just a little bit of involvement, and again, don't feel like I find this a lot. Somebody says, "Well, if I really get involved with that, it's going to take me down, or it's going to take time consuming." So, well, wait a minute. Build a support network. Maybe get some other folks involved.
Yeah.
Whether it's a organization or whether it's more buddies that they have, let's get them involved too. So you're not the only one. And the other reason why the other message is the important message is that if there comes a time where somebody is just so that they're going to do it and you've been supporting them, you can't beat yourself up. You can't be thinking like, if I would have done more, if I could have done this, I would have, it's hard, but at the end of the day, it wasn't your doing,
Yeah.
and we have people out there that we engage with that, we kind of start off the show talking about that are carrying this guilt around for years. Those are ones that were totally remorse, that really didn't know what was going on, but ones that did, we're still going to have it. We're still going to have this happen.
It's that whole what if mentality. What if I did this, or what if I did that? And it's all about Gunny and I. We've had brothers that we've served with that unfortunately lost the battle with their demons, and some we were close with, some we weren't close with, and it's just like, well, what if I reached out more, or what if we hung out more? And it's just like we understand that you definitely carry that until the day you end up 6 feet underground, whether it's 30, 40, 50 years down the road. You're going to carry that battle. So don't. I don't know how to even put that into play.
I'll tell you what. I had a tutor one time. I've been very fortunate in my life. I've had some great coaches that I work with. I had some great business tutors. I had a tutor one time, and I was upset because we had lost a client, and he said, "So you think you're better than Jesus?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, Jesus didn't keep all 12, right?" So I said, "Even Jesus didn't keep them all," and it kind of was a wake up call for me. Like, you're not going to get them all.
Yeah.
There's some that are just not going to come around, and that was a big, for me, it was like a big release, just going, wow, you're right. And I think maybe it was set up like that, the way the whole faith is set up. But that's an example. That's another teaching point, that it is an example. When Jesus was down here in the flesh, and he was betrayed.
Yeah.
It's going to happen to you.
Yeah, I mean, this is something. It's one of those stigmas. A lot of people don't like talking about the unaliving. I'm gonna say that because of TikTok and everything, but the unaliving of friends and family. They don't want to talk about that stigma. A lot of people don't want to even get into the realm of, they might see somebody who's struggling, but they're like, oh, I don't want to get involved. I don't want, that's where we need to step in and say, no, you need to be involved. If you see somebody struggling, if you don't want to go there and help them, reach out to somebody else. You got, like you said, it takes that. We say it takes a village. It takes a village. So if you see somebody and they're struggling, but you don't want to get involved, reach out to somebody who does want to help, because there's a whole plethora of people out there that want to help. So that brother or sister, whether they're EMS, firefighter, police, veteran, whatever, reach out to somebody who does want to help. That's why we do this show, this podcast, is so we can highlight organizations like yourself that are out there making a difference in your corner of the world, or the Hope Project down in Florida, or Warriors Next Adventure in Minnesota, where Nicholas Ron. He's the founder of Warriors Next Adventure. He tried to end us, but it didn't happen. And after that, he's like, well, the good Lord, that's a sign from the good Lord that there's a bigger purpose than me. So that's why he created Warriors Next Adventures, so he can help veterans that are thinking about unaliving themselves and breaking that stigma. That's one of the big things that we have to focus on, is breaking that stigma, and talking about how. So for me personally, this is me personally, in my opinion, nobody else's, just mine. If I decided to unalive myself today to end my struggles, I'm relieving the struggles for myself, but I'm putting all the struggles on my wife, my kids, my parents, my cousins and aunts and all of them. I'm throwing all of my struggles onto them, because now they're like, well, why didn't we see it? And then, of course, my wife and kids have to deal with all the other that comes along with, unaliving the funeral and all of that. So for me personally, I that's something that I would never think about doing, because I know I'm put in that struggle. But there's a lot of people out there that thinks that's the only way to go for them. They don't think about the other people that it affects. So we need
Right.
to break that stigma and talk about it more on how that affects not just you, but the people in your inner circle, and then your people in your outer circle, how it affects them as well. So
Yeah, I
I
think that
love your
I think the
mission.
problem is we've been raising awareness for this for way too long, right? You can raise awareness all day, every day, but until there is something that is being done actionably, like, Tony is doing with his group, that number is not going to go down. It doesn't matter what group you're talking about.
Yep.
and
When I retired, I worked for a nonprofit whose sole focus was the 22 a day, TBI, post traumatic stress, and it was all about raising awareness.
Yeah.
There was nothing truly actionable.
Well, I think what happens is, I think, we've been talking about this, but where people don't want to get involved, you have to think about that. Why don't they want to get involved? One of the reasons why they don't want to get involved is they don't know how to. They're afraid. They don't know what to say. They don't know if they're going to be rejected. They don't know how to approach it. They think, well, maybe if I start this conversation, I'm going to drive them, faster. So in our world of taking action is to dispel that and say, look at, now you're equipped. So when we do an event, we like to leave people up that they're, leave it. It's not a Debbie Downer thing. It's like, okay, now I feel a little bit empowered. Now I feel like I've got some confidence.
Yeah.
That's why, if you really look at why doesn't it happen, why don't people get involved, it's because they just don't know how, and they don't know what the journey looks like. If we can tell you that the journey is, if you identify the risk, you start a conversation, there's help out there. It's not you alone. You're not carrying the ball the whole time. It's, and that's a lot of what our message is to take, get people to take action, is the fact that we're giving you some tools, but you're not the end. You're not the one that's going to be bottom line responsible. There's a lot of organizations out there. I mean, we talk to groups all the time. You just hit on it, PTSD and TBI. Well, there's guys that specialize in that. There's a group out in New York that we're working with, that they have a group of counselors, and that's all they do. Well, I'm not going to be as equipped to help somebody as they are, but if I can get that bridge between me and somebody that needs that help, that has PTSD or TBI, then it's great. I've done my job. I've got involved, but I haven't, really taken that bottom line responsibility. And I think that's what happens, is we just don't get people. I mean, I've got guys that go out there and they drive guys to events. They get so deep in the woods, they get so isolated, they don't get out. And you physically go and you pick them up and take them to an event just to get them involved with some people. That's okay. We've got, I can't tell you how many Tuesday morning coffees at McDonald's, where there's maybe 6 or 10 guys that get together. That's great. And they're doing something, they're active, they're hanging on, there's some accountability. Just about a month ago, I was at one of the groups, and a few of the guys went there, and one of the other ones says, well, he's in Colorado on vacation, and, he's up in Utah, and they kind of knew where everybody was, so if they weren't there, that's how close knit they were. And that's a great thing. I think that's what's going to help mitigate this whole problem.
Yeah, I would agree with you. So you got a book that's coming out in, I think you said October time frame.
Yeah, it's called Silent Battle, and it's written for families, friends, loved ones of people that are at risk, and it goes through essentially what we talked about today, and a lot more detail of how to identify when somebody's at risk, what to do. Take their temperature, where are they in the cycle, and just how to enter into some dialogue. It has a lot of recommendations for phrases to start it, and there's some statistics in there. There's things about people with PTSD and TBI. It's different. It's a mental illness. It's hard. It's not. It doesn't have to be fatal. But how to deal with that, if you live with somebody that has that, understand that that's, we talk about in the book, a lot of things we talk about. We talk about there's a cycle. It's called victim, persecutor, rescuer. And what happens is somebody just thinks that they're a victim all the time. And when they get into that victim thing, and then all of a sudden they lash out at you because now they're tired of being a victim, so they become a persecutor and they start hammering on you. But then after they do that, then they feel bad. They want to rescue you.
Yeah.
They want to be nice to you. So when you start to see that cycle, you need to help people get out of that victim role. So those are the kind of things that are in the book, just some practical tools that you can use. And my hope is that we get it in the hands of people that need it. Their families out there, maybe they've been suffering this for a while. They felt like somebody's been depressed and they've been really hard on them, been hard to live with. And, there's some hope in the book that you'll understand it and be able to act on it.
Heck yeah.
So
So
is it just
one
going
of
to
the
be a hard copy? Or are you going to do a digital
It'll
copy?
be, the way it works in the world today, it goes on Amazon, it goes everywhere, and it's available in Kindle, hard copy, soft copy book, it's called Silent Battle, and it'll be coming out, and we'll be doing a big PR campaign on it. But yeah, the way of the world now, if you want to read something, it's easy to get it. And that's the good news.
so
Do you
for,
plan
for
on doing
guys like
Audible?
Gunny and I that we can't really sit down and read a book, is it going to be on Audible?
Yeah, it'll be on Audible also. That comes a little bit later, but yeah, I know what you mean. So it's unavailable. You have to tell you, I just lately have become a lot more of a reader. The only book I read was the Bible. Now I've become more of a reader, and I also realize that what I can do is I can grab. I don't have to. If it's 150 pages, I don't have to read 150 pages. I can get in there and get the gist of it, chapters, and get that knowledge that way. And if I want to go back and revisit, I can do that. So now, for probably the first time in a long time, I've got maybe 3 or 4 books going all at once. I just grab them and try to grab 15 minutes, 20 minutes on it. And yeah, but it'll be Audible. The way the whole publishing world has changed. Like a lot of worlds, have changed. Like you don't have typesetters anymore, right?
Right.
So the whole publishing world is when you get a publisher, we have a publisher, and they just put it down a pipeline, and then it becomes in all the formats. And it's just a great way to go now because you can get your message out without it being such a big hurdle to get it out.
Okay. Awesome. Now, if somebody out there wanted to help donate to your nonprofit, whether they want to get involved with your nonprofit or they want to donate monetary value to your nonprofit, what's the best route and option for them to go do that?
HelpingHeroesUSA.org, and they can go there, and there's a way to donate, and there's a way to sponsor that first responder to go to one of our symposiums. Like again, it's free, but the way we do it is we have people sponsor. And if they want to contact somebody on our staff, or they need to get a hold of us, if they want some guidance on somebody they're working with, we're there. So helpingheroesusa.org is kind of the contact point.
So that is helpingheroesusa.org. I'm throwing it up on the screen right now, helpingheroesusa.org. So it is in the chat there. And if you're watching this now or listening to it later, it's helpingheroesusa.org. So definitely go follow Helping Heroes USA or Helping Heroes USA on all social media platforms. I think on Facebook it says Helping Heroes USA United. So there's a couple different ones on there. So make sure you follow.
I'll tell you what it is in the state of California, we had to actually get our 501c3 name. They wanted us to add one more word to Helping Heroes USA. And my attorney was actually doing it. He was on the phone. He goes, okay, put United. So like we're on everything. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook. We're on X, Instagram. If people want to find us, they'll find us. We're out there. We've got PR going out and all kinds of good stuff. We want to be
or you can just go to Google and type in Helping Heroes USA and it'll pop up.
Yeah.
So definitely do that.
Yeah, I just want to, I thank you guys so much because it's so important for us to get the word out. And when you give your time, donate your time to us to have me on the podcast, I really appreciate it. I really do. It's just a great way to get the message out to folks. And even the way you've interviewed, if somebody listens to this, it could help somebody.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, me and Gunny want to sit here and say thank you again. I know we said at the beginning of the show, but we definitely want to say thank you again for taking time out of your busy time to come hang out with us and talk about for one, you talk about you, then two, you talk about the organization that you've created that's out there helping our brothers and sisters in the military, plus our brothers and sisters in the first responder world. Now you made a comment earlier about the statistics on 22 a day. We know that number for veterans is more like between 45 to 55 a day, and then
Correct.
when you throw in the first responders, it's more going upwards of 75 to 100 a day. That's including with the military included into that. So
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
it's a high spike, and we need more people that are doing action instead of just talking about it and raising awareness, like Gunny said, because for 20 plus years, people have been raising awareness, and it's not changed. That number's just kept growing
Well,
and growing.
in addition to raising awareness, one of my, I don't know if it's a pet peeve, but is that a lot of money goes into research. There was just a bill that was like $48 million for research. I'm like, well, we know research doesn't trickle down. The money doesn't trickle down to guys like us that are putting boots on the street. And so there's some organizations that we've looked at, and again, they're doing research, and look at we know how to mitigate this. We just need to get more folks out there helping, and and so yeah, you're right. So it's like there's some misdirected things. We're hoping that our movement will help just get boots on the street to be able to interact with people.
I love it. Gunny, you got any more questions?
No, I mean, if a fraction of the funds that went into research were going to organizations that are actually out there doing actionable things,
right,
that number would go down.
You're right. Absolutely right.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100%. But yeah, unfortunately,
if it was
it is
affecting
not
Congress as much as it's affecting the communities that it's affecting, that would happen really quick, and that number would go down.
Yeah. Well, Tony, I do want to say thank you again for coming on here and hanging out with us. When the book does come out, let's say sometime at the beginning of next year, let's get you back on the show, and then we'll talk about just the book itself, and go through the chapters of the book and what you've got in there and stuff like that. I think that would be a good follow-up episode to have after the book is released and it's got some time to gain some traction and stuff.
That'd be great. I really appreciate it. Yeah, there's some work. There's a little work charts in there and things like that people can use to help give them confidence to engage. And so that'd be great. I'll contact you. I'll reach out. We're coming up on the holidays, and it's a time for depression. It's interesting that there's a lot of suicides in January.
Yeah.
January is one of the biggest months, and so we're trying to get ahead of it as much as we can this year by the end of the year.
Yes, sir. All
right, guys.
Well,
thank you so much.
You're very welcome, and we're going to drop you down to the green room. If you got things to do, go ahead and do your things. And once Gunny and I are done with the ending the show, if you're still there, we'll talk to you some more. But if you got things to do, we understand that as well.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
How cool was that, Gunny?
I mean, like I said, I did that for years, right after I retired, like right after I retired. And it was all about the raising of awareness. That's all you ever heard. That's still all you ever hear, right? But taking action, right? So Team Rubicon, I got involved with them a little bit after I got out, just to give me another, something to do, sense of purpose. And they actually put some of us that volunteered through assist training. So it's the Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training, and it's a 2-day in-person course. And yeah, you get a certificate at the end, but it does give you the tools to try to assist somebody to get the help, right? Or point them in the right direction to get the help, because you as the individual may not have all the answers, but there are organizations out there that do have the answers, and that, can point people in the correct direction. And, saying the word, and it pisses me off that the TikTok doesn't like that word, because, when you have to say unalive, it's ridiculous,
Yeah, I
right?
would agree.
Because we're
I would
not
agree.
talking about right now taking our lives. We're talking about assisting to people that are thinking about it to not take the life. So
Yeah,
it's just, the platforms being what the platforms do, it's absurd. And for Tony and his group to be actually out there taking action again, whether it's drinking the coffee or playing golf or going to a NASCAR, just getting people out of the house, getting them out of
yeah,
their situation, dude, I tell you, we need more organizations that are doing that. I mean, we have organizations here in Kentucky that are doing it, getting guys and gals out the house, through outdoor recreation, outdoor sports, outdoor, whatever, nature therapy. But we need more. We need more. And, as a matter of fact, tomorrow through next Monday, that's what I'm doing. A
yeah,
little bit
yeah.
of outdoor nature therapy, throwing a line in a river somewhere near Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
There you go. Yeah,
I'll
definitely
send
get.
pictures.
Oh yeah, you better. That way we can throw them here on the show
Yeah.
when you're out there next weekend when you're out there still fishing. We'll be thinking about you and knowing you're doing your reset as you
Yeah.
like
So
to
they
say that's
sent
your reset.
a rough schedule. So it's arrive tomorrow, and then it's a barbecue at the wherever we're staying, and then Tuesday we're going into town, having lunch with the Elks, right? So there's another organization right there that is out there helping people do all the things, and then there's a casting class. So there's a lot of people in the group that's going that have never fly fished before, so it's gonna be interesting for sure the first few days, and then Wednesday we have a fly tying class with one of the renowned fly tyers out there in
Nice,
Jackson.
nice.
So yeah, I'm excited about that. And then Thursday is our first day out on the water. So it's about a 5 hour, 6 hour float down. I don't know, one of the rivers. It says Pack and Dead Man, whatever that means. I'm like, really? That's where you're gonna put me in my first float?
Oh man,
And
okay.
then Friday, it's like we're fishing near a dam, it looks like, and then Saturday's wide open. So I'm gonna guess that's gonna be a probably a sightseeing type day, or maybe just a down day to give everybody a thing. If it's up to me, I'm going fishing. I'm
Yeah,
putting a line in the water somewhere.
putting the
Even
water in. Yeah,
Uber.
getting an Uber, going fishing. I
And
hear
then
you.
Sunday we're back on another river, doing another 5 6 hour float. But they have some of the guides that are out there. They tie flies on a regular basis, so they'll be tying flies every night. So when we're back at the shop and we're done eating, I'm gonna be tying flies, man.
There
I'm
you go.
coming home with a kit. That's all I'm saying.
With the kid of 'em there. So,
Yeah,
my nephew's on TikTok. I know you can't see him at the present moment in time. So he's still deployed. I can't wait for him to come home,
yeah.
to talk about his experience
He
while he
should be
was
short
over.
time now, huh?
Yeah, he's getting close to short time, yeah. He says, "Gunny, you need to teach Willis how to fish," is what he just said on TikTok. So I can't wait for him to get back, and we're definitely have him on the show, and whether he comes on just as a special guest co-host or whatnot, but
Yeah,
we're
we
gonna
can
have
have him on the show and just he can talk about his experience over there because he was over there when, there was some inbound stuff and some,
yeah,
warnings and stuff going off. And right, obviously we don't want to cross the OPSEC border, right? So he doesn't have to say exactly where he was, what base he's on, all that stuff, what unit he's with, but he can just talk about his experience over there for the past, close to a year now.
yeah, and he did re-enlist while he was there,
Ah, see,
so
we
he
did talk about that a little bit to see if he was going to or not.
yeah, he did re-enlist, so I'm super proud of him, and I do know that I think he's going to be closer to home when he re-enlists up here at Fort Knox. So instead of being at Fort Campbell, he'll be at
Yeah.
Knox, and I'm super excited about that. And um, yeah, man, it's one of those things. Tomorrow, I know you won't be here, but we got Tony Crescenzo coming on. He is the founder of Intelligent Waves. Let me get this bio pulled up because they just sent it to me. Uh, Co-author bio Tony Crescenzo. Um, Tony Crescenzo is the president and CEO of Intelligent Waves, a leading systems integrator that delivers mission-focused, multi-domain operational expertise and innovation to the U.S. government, the Department of Defense, and intelligence community. Before joining IW, Crescenzo held various executive positions, including CE roles at Inline Software, Intellidyne, Illumitech, Analysis Frameworks, and Vice President and General Manager of the Public Sector at Initiate Systems. He served in the United States Marine Corps, bringing a wealth of experience in technology across federal, commercial, and international markets. Um, so he's actively involved in his community. He serves on the Northern Virginia Technological Council Board of Directors and co-chairs its Veterans Employment Initiative. He's also on the board of directors of Warriors Ethos, and also chairs the advisory board of the Semper Fi Fund, and is a former member of the Virginia Board of Trustees at the Nature Conserv.
Conservatory.
No, it's not Conservatory. It's Vancy Conservancy, whatever the heck that is. I'll have to look that one up.
Conservancy.
Yeah, Conservancy. Yeah, yeah. Don't make fun of me, Cracker.
That's a
It's that redneck coming out.
Town education.
Yeah, hooked on phonics worked for me.
I tell you, my son tells me all the time, Dad, that's a big word for Elmo. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a big Elmo word right there. But anyway, so we got a United States Marine Corps veteran coming on tomorrow.
Nice.
And he's done a little bit of everything. So I'm super excited to have, Tony coming on and talking about what he's doing and his mission and all of that good jazz. I think it's going to be a pretty good episode. Gunny will be probably mid-flight somewhere, or if not, he's already there because you're leaving super
I'll
early.
be there. I get there at like 10:30 their time, so it's 2 hours behind. So it'll be lunchtime for you when I arrive, I think. I've got an early morning flight, and I get to do the ORD shuffle, right? Who doesn't like to run through friggin' Chicago?
Ooh, yeah, you gotta love that. I try to
But
get
coming back, I go through Denver, so that's a little bit better. Anyway,
at least you don't have to go to Dallas and do the shuffle in Dallas because that
I got to do that coming back from the cruise.
mm, mm,
So,
that's gonna be fun, especially if you got to jump on the tram and
and
you got to go.
I'm gonna have the wife, and she's not used to it.
Ooh,
I'm used to it. I'm
Yeah.
used to doing the marathon through the airports. She is not. So I
Well,
got to make sure she wears her runners that day.
yeah, definitely, and some comfortable clothes. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's end it up, Gunny.
Yeah, you're not alone. You still have worth. You still have value. You know, don't let the dark days win. You know, there's people out here that want you in their life, need you in their life.
Amen. This right here, in the silence of your struggles, remember, though unseen, you are deeply held in the hearts of others. You are not alone. It's just piggybacking off of what Gunny says, and we talk about it all the time. You might not talk to somebody for 2 or 3 years, but know that
20.
person, or 20 years, but know that person still cares about you and still wants you to show up tomorrow because they love you. So definitely do that. And then we hit on this earlier during the show. Hashtag be somebody stranger. If you're out and about and you see somebody that looks like they're having a bad day, or not even just having a bad day, just be somebody stranger. Go out and say, hey, how you doing? And if they give you the red flags, I'm okay, I'm hanging in there, I'm living a dream, ask the next hard question. How are you really doing? But you got to be ready for that conversation, because it could be a 5-minute conversation, could be an 8-hour conversation. You just have to be ready for that.
Yeah, and it takes a village. You know, you can't go at this alone. No matter how much you think you can, you can't. You know, and 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah.
Right. 2 broke people can't fix each other. You're going to feed off each other's issues that you have. So, you know, you use your people around you, whether it's your spouse, your kids, your friends, your coworkers, guys and gals that you served with, whether you're on the police force or you're in the military, or cell phone roulette it. Grab your contacts, Go through it, hit a button, and see if they pick up, just like that.
And if they don't pick up, do it again.
If they don't pick up, just leave a message. Hey, just check in on you, see how you're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
And then if they don't, get off, do it again until somebody picks up. Somebody will
Amen.
pick up their phone eventually. In the world of why aren't you texting me instead of, I hate that. Pick up the phone,
Yeah.
make a phone call. Stop
Yeah.
texting.
There you go. I hate texting too. I'd rather pick up a phone call and talk to somebody on the other end and not try to sit there and text. Yeah.
No, I had to text the wife tonight. Man, I got hot in the room. So I'm like, come turn on the fan. She came in and turned on the fan on high, blasting me in the side of the face. So then she moved it down. And then she let the dogs out, and I'm getting the updates from the back camera that there's, animals in the backyard. And then they
Yeah.
start running around and barking at each other. I'm like, dogs. Sometimes you have to send a text.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to send a text. Mine was blowing up a while ago. I guess my daughter was on her way home from work or whatnot, and it was just like ding, ding, ding. And normally I turn it on silent, and I just happened to forget. And it was ding, 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 ding. I was like, oh. But yeah, sometimes you got to send a text. But I want to give a big shout out to our partners, not sponsors, but partners. If you are out there and you do want to sponsor Homefront Sitrep, reach out to homefrontsitrep@gmail.com. We'll gladly, have a discussion with you, and we'll work something out if you do want to sponsor Homefront Sitrep.
Yeah, we'll throw up an advertisement halfway through or at the beginning, at the end, whatever.
Yeah. But a big thank you to our partners, Heroes Media Group, which Adam Bird was just in chat not too long ago.
I did see that.
Heroesmediagroup.com. Go check it out. There's over 50 different podcasters on there, ranging from Behind the Firewall to Cooking with something, I forget the name, but there's all kinds of different podcasts on there. So go check out heroesmediagroup.com. Big shout out to Reese Across America Radio. You can find Homefront Sitrep on Reese Across America Radio on Thursday nights, 11 p.m. Eastern. And that's www.reefsacrossamerica.org/radio, or you can download the TuneIn app, Audacity app, or the iHeartRadio app and search the word Reefs, and you can find all the shows that are on Reefs Across America Radio. And also Reefs Across America, who lays the reefs on veterans' graves at national cemeteries all around the country. If you're looking to support a nonprofit in your area, you can actually become a partner with Reefs Across America Radio, and each wreath that is sold, $5 from each wreath goes to that organization. So
they'll send you a code, and
they'll
you have
send you a
to use
code.
that code to purchase the wreath that's going to be laid at, we'll just say Arlington, or your local national veteran cemetery that's close to you. And then, if they use that code, purchase a wreath to be laid, wherever, $5 goes to the organization that code, that link is tied to.
Yeah. Big shout out to Lance Price with We Are SFH. He's in chat right now on TikTok. So I want to give him a big shout out. Him and Tyler Southern out there doing amazing things with We Are SFH. So go check out their apparel that they have. Next partner, we got Military United Podcast Streams, Elite Engraving, that did this amazing hat. And nope, not that one, the other one. This amazing hat here, it's black on black with a red patch. I had the caramel on the other day with the red patch, caramel and black. So they did amazing. Same flag, same oath.com. We have a t-shirt with those guys. So CJ just says High Desert Marines in Victorville, California is hosting a USMC birthday ball November 8th. Heck yeah, so that's super cool. Same flag, same oath has our shirt. It says Marine It Down on it. It's a word play on Keep It Simple Stupid, because that's something we do in the Marine Corps. So Marine It Down. You can actually go to our website, homefrontsitrep.com, and go over to the merch site, and you can see it links to both the hat and the shirt. At the end of the year, Homefront Sitrep's going to get 25% of the sales for the shirts, 20% from the hats. We're going to take each one of those checks and we're going to do a spin the wheel with all the nonprofits that we've interviewed this year. And whoever it lands on, that's going to get one check, and then we're going to do it again. Whoever it lands on is going to get the second check. So go to HomeFrontSitRep.com, order you a hat, order you a shirt, and make sure you tag Homefront Sit Rep. Myself, David Willis on Facebook, or Samuel Deeds on Facebook, just so we can see who's wearing our shirts and where you guys are located at. Then I want to give a big shout
I
out
will
to.
tell you that the Homefront Sit Rep hat is heading to Wyoming.
Oh, is it going to Wyoming with you?
It is. It is.
Nice.
I might make an appearance in some photos.
And I think Not Service Connected is going too.
It is.
Yeah, we need to talk with Ty and Southern's, Ty and Lance, and see if we can get some SFH gear as well that we can rock on the show. And then Valor Coins and Pins, man. Brent Casey and his brother Brian, they run Valor Coins and Pins. They are the grandson of Herschel Woody Williams, who run, they have the Herschel Woody Williams Foundation, or the Woody Williams Foundation.
Woody Williams Foundation.
That puts Gold Star monuments up across the country. Well, if you order a coin or you order your coins through Valor Coins and Pins, a percentage of that money goes to the Woody Williams Foundation. If you know anything about Herschel Woody Williams, he was a Medal of Honor recipient. He's a Marine and badass. Here, let's go full screen.
Yeah, so this is basically what the monument looks like. It's going to be different for each state because they put a committee together that designs this. So the fronts, all of them are the same, but on the back, it's going to be different on each one. So it's pretty neat. You can just go to the Woody Williams Foundation, see what monuments are in the works, what monuments have already been built. And if there's one near you, go visit. I know there's one on Fort Campbell that I didn't know there was there.
So yeah, definitely go check out Valor Coins and Pins. Go check out Herschel Woody Williams Foundation. Go check out sameflagsameoath.com. Go check out Elite Engraving. Go check out Heroes Media Group. Go check out Reach Across America Radio. Go check out Military United Podcast Streams. All great organizations that are doing great things out there. So, but other than that, it is about that time, Gunny.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Ladies and gents, like we always say on Homefront Sit Rep, stay safe out there.
We got your six.
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this show.
Suggestions and comments are always welcome.
Cannot wait to have another great show with y'all.
Don't forget you can find Homefront Sit Rep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Stay safe out there. I got your six.